In today's video, we're going to be exploring the MF-107S Freqbox plugin, which is a software variant of the hardware MF-107 Moogerfooger pedal. Now on the software, we've added some additional features not found on the hardware, namely the ability to make the oscillator operate in stereo and some additional envelope controls. In today's example, we're going to be listening to the Roland TR-606 drum machine getting processed by the MF-107S. I've also used two additional trigger outputs that are on the TR-606, and we will also be processing those with an MF-107S. But to begin, let's listen to how our drum track sounds dry. You can hear I have a pretty simple drum pattern going, and now let's listen to how it sounds processed by the MF-107S. You can hear I'm able to use that drum track to generate a synthesizer voice that's based on the amplitude of the drums themselves. And in this example, I'm also using the CV panel to send the internal envelope follower to modulate the waveform to add a little bit of waveform animation to the sound. I'm also going to use the mix knob to fade a little bit of my dry drum track back in so I can have the synth line and the drum track happening at the same time. So let's listen to how that sounds. So as you can hear, I can get my dry signal and the processed synthesizer voice that the MF-107S is giving me at the same time. So now let's listen to the first trigger channel that I have coming out of the 606. Keep in mind this signal is not a very exciting signal. It's mainly used to trigger time-based events or envelopes or sequencers and modular gear. And it's going to be coming in really hot, but let's listen to the dry signal. So you can hear I have a basic rhythm happening on that trigger channel, and now let's listen to how it sounds processed by the MF-107S. So as you can hear, I can generate a second synthesizer voice from it that's based on the amplitude of the trigger signal, and now let's hear how that sounds mixed in with our drum tracks and the additional synthesizer voice. So as you can hear, we can start getting an interesting kind of synthesizer rhythm happening from all of these sounds. And now let's listen to the second trigger track that we have coming through. Once again, this is the dry signal. So you can hear it's very similar to the other track. And now let's listen to how it sounds processed by the MF-107S. Now, one interesting thing that I'm doing with the two trigger tracks is I'm using the envelope follower on the other trigger track to animate the waveform on the one that we're listening to, and vice versa. So while the drum track is using the envelope follower to modulate its own waveform, these two are modulating the opposing waveform. So let's listen to the two of those stacked together. So you can hear, because of that modulation, they kind of push and pull against each other in a nice way. And now let's listen to all three tracks mixed together. And I can mix the drums out. So as you can hear, the MF-107S is a very interesting way of transforming any sound into a synthesizer voice, and exploring the CV and additional controls can open up a new world of sonic processing that's not very common with other processors.